Welcome back to Worldview. The people speak loudly. The war stampede is slowed. This is the Monday Line. I'm Dennis Campbell. Now, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is a monster. The Syrian people should rise up and do a Nicolae Ceausescu on his sorry ass, putting bullets through his head like the Romanian army did in 1989. The way Bashar continues to brutalize his own people is unforgivable. Assad, though, did not fall far from the parental tree. His father was even more of a barbarian. And whilst the images for more than 2 years had been disgusting and shocking from that country, the British people delivered a very clear message through their members of parliament. They want no part of another rush to intervene, even with cruise missiles versus boots on the ground. In short, they're very war-weary. The message to the world's leaders is simple. No matter how noble the cause, there can be no war decision taken ever again without definitive proof. Unless and until you can assure our people how this ends, no Western power can afford another military intervention in that part of the world. Unless and until those Arab states in the region most affected take steps themselves to intervene, we cannot always be the ones to lead the way in from afar. Now, Prime Minister David Cameron saw his coalition crumble in less than 24 hours. His motion to join the U.S. President coalition against Syria went down to defeat by a mere 13 votes after 8 hours of, at times, amazing debate. Stunned by the setback and clear message to wait, even the American President Barack Obama has slowed the drums of war and will ask the U.S. Congress to debate a similar resolution. The Commons debate, though, was must-see TV. It was a sober, measured, serious debate. Each speaker asked ever tougher questions, for which there were no answers. And after Tony Blair followed George W. Bush like a lapdog into war under false pretenses, no one was willing to march lockstep over the Syrian cliff looking for chemical weapons evidence. Opposition leader Ed Miliband's words rang through the Commons. Evidence should always precede decision, not decision preceding evidence. And therein lays the Bush-Blair created rub. In 2003, 18 months after a truly heinous attack in New York, with coalition boots on the ground in Afghanistan already fighting the Taliban, any government could easily make the false case that Iraq's Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and needed to be taken out. The world now knows that was a lie. So much so that the Obama Justice Department last week started quietly to work on creating federal immunity justification for Messrs. Bush, Cheney, Powell, Rumsfeld, and others against potential war crimes charges. And it was déjà vu this week as UN weapons inspectors in Syria, remember how similar inspectors were forced out of Iraq so war could begin in 2003? Well, 10 years later, another team was rushed out of Damascus before another attack. This caused many to hold up their hand and say, just wait a minute here. We've seen this movie before, and the ending, it was not good. The world asked the Bush administration in February of 2003, why can't the UN weapons inspectors do their job and report their findings before rushing to war? It was ignored by the Republican neocons wanting a new Middle East world order. And a decade later, that question is finally being allowed to be answered and any new intervention seriously debated. There's no black and white here, only increasingly terrifying shades of gray. And upon reflection, the possibility for escalation grows more terrifying with each passing day. So much so, I find myself leaning against intervention in Syria, even with chemical weapons proof. Simply, entering any civil war is fraught with problems, and even if your side wins, what do you inherit? Now, when I read Christopher Dickey's commentary in the Daily Beast that said, "Let it bleed, no American action can resolve the Syrian conflict," my initial reaction was one of skepticism. I started out shocked at the seeming callousness. What became more terrifying, though, was when I found myself agreeing with the former half-term governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin. She sarcastically said essentially the same thing in her one-sentence response to the conflict in Syria. Let Allah handle it. Now, the more nuanced view is simple. There's no easy out, and indeed all signs point towards the seeming insignificant assassination of an archduke leading to escalation after escalation that we knew as World War I. The chess pieces on this board are more than just the USA and Syria, and this game could be called 6 degrees to WW3. Number 1, what if the U.S. bombs Syria? Number 2, what if Syria sends chemical weapon missiles based to Israel? Is Assad that crazy? Well, he launched a napalm attack Friday on a high school after using chemical weapons on his people on the 21st. Number 3, Israel would attack Syria. Number 4, the U.S. would be forced to defend Israel. Number 5, Russia would defend their satellite state, Syria. And what if a hot-headed Russian sub-commander fires at and sinks a U.S. ship? Now, that's World War III in 5 moves, and that's without even thinking about the Iranian troublemakers backing Syria, Turkey and Iraq splitting apart to the north, Jordan falling under the weight of a flood of refugees, Lebanon falling into further chaos, decades of Sunni, Shia, and Alawi struggles, Iraq coming to the aid of Iran, Egypt's Islamist separatists fighting that army, and what's left of Syria and the Middle East ripped completely apart. As our friend Joshua the Whopper Computer in the hit 1980s film War Games says,
Greetings, Professor Falcon.
Hello, Joshua?
Strange game. The only winning move is not to play. How about a nice game of chess?
If we play this war game, we'd better be prepared for a less than Hollywood happy ending. We'd better be ready to go all in and state clear reasons why or why not to play. We'll be right back.